Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. So, I'm going to make a quick little video today, just some tech tips to help some people out. It's the dead of winter, and I have nothing really to do. Well, that's not true. I have lots to do. The car is currently in storage on the other side of the garage with the rest of the cars. It's done, and this is my life currently. Just working on skidoos and trying to get them going, because if you own a skidoo, you would know that it's about 8 months worth of work for about 2 months worth of pleasure, and it's enough to kill you. But anyways, I just finished my day. I'm gonna have a nice beer up here in my man cave, and yeah. So today I think I'm gonna take 2 minutes and talk about Holley tuning, because I've had a lot of people online talk to me and say, what's the best procedure to get going? So this pretty much applies to, I would have to say, any Holley ECU. You have your HP, your Terminator, X-Max, all that stuff. So I have a couple methods of getting going. When I first did my LS swap, I had the MSD 6014 and a carburetor, so it was fairly easy to get going. I had like 6 preset tunes on it, and you just adjust your carburetor as needed. But the Holley Terminator stuff and the Holley HP stuff was a little different. And I had watched a ton of videos and, like Engine Masters and Richard Holdner and all that stuff. And they're like, oh yeah, it's great. You just plug and play and go and all that. So I feel like there's some missing information. And even in their manuals, there's a lot of missing information and just this dead zone of tuning that nobody really talks about when you first get going. So what I'll do is I'll describe that, and in a nutshell, when you first start your car, whether it be a car, a truck, an LS, a Coyote, whatever, you have to do your setup wizard, okay? So what it does is it asks you how big your motor is, how big your camshaft is, what kind of timing you're running, all that. And what it does is it selects a preset tune by Holley to get your car running. Now, if you're lucky enough that you have a dyno close by that doesn't cost an arm and a leg, fantastic. But me personally, I live out in the sticks. The closest dyno is 2 hours away, and they want to charge me like $2,000 just to do pulls and a little bit of tuning. So I've had to do things myself. If you're like me, this video probably will help. If anything, it'll be informative, I hope. So anyways, moving along. Like I said, this dead zone of tuning that nobody really talks about, that I've had trouble with, I've had other people have trouble with, and I've helped them out. So in a nutshell, Holley tells you, you plug it in, you fire it up, it gets up to temperature. Once it's up to temperature, it starts learning. So what's the learning is basically going off the AFRs, it will add or subtract fuel out of the table and try and basically get the best AFR, and that's how that works. So the fuel, they design it so that when you first start your car, it runs extremely rich. And by doing that, it doesn't hurt the engine. A rich engine is better than a lean engine. The problem that I've had is that if you do it with a stock motor, like something you pulled out of a junkyard, you probably won't have that many problems. But if you're like anybody else in the world and you want to LS swap your vehicle and you've put heads on it and you put a camshaft in it, the first time you go to fire it up, you're probably going to have a couple problems. Now, the problems are that when you fire it up, it has to get up to temperature before it'll start pulling or adding fuel. So your car is going to huff black smoke forever. And if you're lucky, you'll get up to temperature. And by the time the computer starts pulling or adding fuel, you would have saved your plugs. Now, if you have an aggressive camshaft, which I do, and a lot of people I had helped out had aggressive camshafts, what happens is too much fuel, you foul plugs, and then by the time you start learning, you have foul plugs, and then the ECU will start dumping or adding fuel according to whatever the engine's doing. So, for instance, if you have your wideband on the passenger side and for about 10 minutes your new engine has been heating up, and all of a sudden it drops down to 3 cylinders on one side. What that's going to do is you're going to have a ton of fuel dumping into that bank that's unburnt, and your wideband is going to read that as super rich. And what it's going to do is start cutting fuel everywhere to the engine, and then your engine's going to run super lean, and then it's going to run like crap. So anyways, I've found there are 2 things to fix this. One, which is probably the easiest path to go, is if you have a laptop, to go on the Holley website, download whatever software you need, whether it be V2 or V3, and then go on Amazon or Holley and buy their CAN bus cable. From there, you can go into the ECU, and then you can change the learning state temperature. So you go in, and then it'll tell you, it'll start pulling or adding fuel at 165 degrees Fahrenheit. I changed that to 0 degrees Fahrenheit. So the second you turn the key, it's already reading the AFRs and, pulling and adding where it needs to. And then you let it get up to temperature, make sure everything's good. And I've had pretty good luck with it. Not always, but better luck than the other scenario. The other scenario is the crappy one, where if you don't have a laptop and you don't have the CAN bus cable and you only have the handheld, is to run through your wizard, have a spare set of spark plugs around, and a good set of welding gloves. And what you do is you let your car, truck, whatever, get up to the temperature it needs to get up to in order to start pulling or adding fuel. Once you are almost there, I'd say like 150 degrees, because what's going to happen is as soon as you shut your engine off, it's going to heat up, and that it's not going to circulate water anymore. What's going to happen is you need to pull those plugs out as fast as you can and then put that new set of plugs in. So as soon as it hits 165 degrees, you are adding and subtracting fuel on all 8 cylinders with brand new plugs. Because if you don't, the scenario which I said would happen, in that you are just going to have a bunch of plugs that are fouled and then a lean engine running on 7 or 6 cylinders. So I think that those are the easiest ways to get around getting your engine fired up. Once you've hit 165 degrees, if you have like one of those thermometers that you can check all the cylinders, make sure they're all at the same temperature and all firing, that's great. The ECU will take over. You can go and drive around and, in various gears at various RPMs and cruise, and the thing will learn by itself. The problem with that is, if you have a handheld, is that a lot of people don't know this, because I actually have a buddy, my neighbor, who has a Corvette with an LS3 in it. And he said, it ran really good for a bit, and then it just kind of stopped. And I didn't know what had happened, because Holley promised him. I mean, it wasn't a promise or anything. It was just, it says it's fantastic. The problem is that if you put an aggressive camshaft in your motor, it needs to pull and add fuel, and it only pulls and adds fuel to a certain extent. I think it's like 50%. So your fuel table will fill up with adjustments, and unless you transfer all those learnings to your fuel table and then clear your learning table, you'll never continue to learn. So basically, in a nutshell, I don't have my computer in front of me, which is something I should have done so I could show you. You can only do this on a laptop. I've never actually figured out how to do it on the handheld. So on the laptop, you'll have your fuel table, you'll log in, you'll have your fuel table there, and then you can click on the learn table, and the learn table will have all the cells that the ECU has been pulling or adding fuel to. And then there's a little tab up top that says transfer to fuel table. You transfer all those numbers to the fuel table, then you can reset your learn table so the computer can continue adding or subtracting fuel up to 50%. You can actually change those values in the ECU. You can go to like 100% or whatever, but it is what it is. You do that. So until you actually do that, your ECU is basically in a, you know, once you've hit 50% learning, your ECU is in a state where it will not learn anymore. And if it's good, fantastic. But if it needs to continue learning, you're screwed. So at some point, you should invest in a computer and a cable. But anyways, that was a lot longer than I thought it would be. But anyways, that's the tech tip for today. I hope it's helpful. If you have any questions, leave comments or reach out to me personally. I'm kind of bored these days, so I don't mind helping out. But anyways, that is my solution to just that little hump of getting going, because, you know, there's a lot of talk of, I know there's a lot of talk of it out there where people are like, oh, I spent a ton of money on this system and I just, you know, it's not as good as they say it is. I'm like, no, it's a great system. There's just a few little things that people Holley never added in, and you need to know about. So anyways, until next time, take care, guys, and I'll try and post some more videos whenever I get some more stuff happening, which won't be for a while yet, but it's coming. So anyways, take care, stay warm out there. Cheers.